Okay, so before we start this, I think it's important to mention that all these characters are from a comic series that was not taken all that seriously. And as a result, most, if not all, my characters are jokes, or started out as nothing but jokes. I don't think you'll see it now, but later on in this video series, I think you'll notice. So if you think some of them are weird or don't make sense, that's why. Anywho, on with the video. Hey guys, so it's finally time. I've shown my characters several times on this channel, but I've never really explained who they are and such, and I'm sure that some of you have been wondering that. I've done speed paint videos on them before, but we don't talk about those. Besides, since then, things like their designs and personalities and stuff have changed, so that's why this exists. I have a lot of characters in this one series alone, and because of that, I put all my characters into different categories. So this video will have to be split in multiple parts, and with some of them, I don't know if I'll even do, but we'll see. First up, we got the kind of protagonist, AJ. I say kind of because even though he was intended to be the main character, as the comic went on, I started focusing more on the others, so I guess he's just part of the main group now. In this series, there really isn't a main character, so yeah. Anywho, his full name is Anthony Jackson, but everyone just calls him AJ. So much so that if you call him by his full name, he either gets really uncomfortable or flattered. Except for his dad, of course. He's not really shy, but he's not outgoing either. He's a pretty quiet guy and just kind of goes along with everything that's thrown at him. He does at least try to stand up for himself, though. But he's a huge doormat and gets manipulated really easily. It's not because he trusts people too much. It's just that he doesn't like conflict and just kind of goes along with whatever people tell him. It kind of makes him a weakling in that regard. Alright, backstory. He was raised with a single dad. As for his mother, he never really met her or knew her because right after he was born, she just kind of gave him to his dad and left. Yeah. As a kid, he eventually met Coloratura and Wendy, and they became best friends and all that, especially Coloratura. But he also met Andrew, who I'll talk about in a different video, in a different part. Point is, he was a really bad influence on AJ and got him into things like drugs and alcohol and crime and the like. AJ never liked it because he's a good kid, but he complied. Eventually, Andrew convinced him to run away to New York, where they sold drugs and stole and had gang fights and whatever the hell people do over there. AJ pretty quickly got tired of all that and left Andrew behind to return to his hometown. Sadly, his reputation kinda ruined his chances and nobody would hire him. The only job he could get was to basically become a human lab rat at a science lab. I told you it gets a little weird. Since then, yeah, he just kind of lives his life and gets into wacky shenanigans and stuff. Design-wise, AJ's a very, very simple man. Like, he doesn't own anything that's of no use to him, kinda simple, so I guess his look reflects that or something. He originally was meant to be, like, covered in scars and ripped clothes, but over time I thought it was weird, so I changed it to be like more simple, so like, you know, like a couple bandages here and there. One thing you'll quickly notice is the streaks that go down his face. That's only a thing he has, like his dad doesn't even have them. If you ask me what those are, honestly, I don't know. The reason I gave it to him in the comic was it was to make him like stand out or something, and it just kind of stuck, you know? Like, I can't really imagine him without them. I don't know, I guess they're birthmarks or something. I don't think that's how birthmarks work, though. Anyway, then there's his best friend, and more, Princess Coloratura. If you're a fan of My Little Pony, you might recognize a character called Coloratura, and yeah, she's named after that. They only really share a name, though, that's pretty much it. The reason I gave it to her was because I specifically wanted this character to have a weird-ass, confusing name that was really hard to pronounce. I don't know why, I just thought that was funny back then. I was thinking of changing it, but I can't change it. It's stuck with her. Anyway, she's the princess of the kingdom they live in. I don't have a name for the kingdom yet, but it's one of those really small kingdoms, you know, like Luxembourg or Andorra, you know, like those really small countries. She's also the oldest of the 2 siblings. Alright, so her backstory. Though she was the firstborn, she is not the heir, and that's because her mother, the queen, didn't want her to suffer the burdens of royalty or whatnot. And since her father was a commoner, she and her younger brother were really encouraged to, you know, like live among them and have like the most normal life possible, you know, like even going to like the same schools and stuff like that. However, her mother was always like a really sickly person, and she died when Coloratura was like around 7. After that, her father assumed the throne, and yeah. She's really outgoing and really confident in herself, and she like will not hesitate to hurt you if you get her mad. She loves sword fighting, because sword fighting is an actual competitive sport in this world, and no, it's not fencing. She's quite physically capable, so she can handle her average Joe. She also just doesn't care about much of anything, and if she wants to, she will tease, berate, and threaten someone if she feels like it for like no other reason than she's the princess, and she can. But despite that, she's also like really caring and compassionate, and will always try to help ones that she's like really close to. Because she's a princess, many people try to court her, obviously, but, you know, she's smart, she can see right through them and stuff. Yeah. The only man she's really interested in, really, is AJ, but, you know, because of his criminal record, it's kind of a hard thing, it's a difficult thing, you know. As for her design, she only wears dresses. No real reason, she just likes them. Like, she does own stuff like pants, but she just chooses not to wear them. So yeah. She usually goes for more simple dresses, but if the situation calls for it, she will dress something more like extravagant and stuff. I think this is also like because she's a princess, but out of all my characters, she's also the one with the most outfits. You can kind of see that in my 2 birds animation. The only one who comes close to the amount of outfits she has is her brother. I don't know, maybe I just like drawing dresses or something, beats me. Speaking of her brother, Prince Orion. He went through many different revamps and name changes since I first created him. Like, his original name was Jordan, and then like it went to Owen, and then he was almost named Ashton until I finally stuck with Orion. Like most shows with siblings, he's more or less the complete opposite of his sister. While she's really outgoing, he's shy and reserved. While she always spends time with her friends, he's only really got one. And while she just kind of goes with the flow of life, he doesn't really know what to do with his own yet. He's the youngest of all my characters, as he's still in high school. Originally, he was meant to be more of a serious version of Coloratura, who didn't take bull from anybody and wanted everything to be in order, but nowadays he's... Well, I guess the best way to describe him is an angsty teen. Yeah, that's basically what he is. He doesn't have that many friends of his own, so he kind of just tags along with Coloratura's friends, but they never really clicked, you know? Also, since he's the heir, he goes to a much richer private school where he has to deal with these 2 girls who I'll introduce them later on, you know. He also skips school a lot. Just a thing I thought I should mention. One thing that always stuck around with his original version is that he doesn't want to be king, even though he's the heir. And no, it's not because being a king is bad or anything. He's just not interested in it. Simple as that. It's just not something he wants to do with his life, and decides to, you know, give the inheritance to his sister, who, she really doesn't mind it, you know, she's like, oh, okay. After he does that, however, he doesn't really know what to do in life. You know, because he was basically born to be the heir, so that sucks. Anywho, he likes music, and he likes cooking and stuff like that, so he thinks that he wants to do something with that, mostly with the music part. He plays guitar, too. His relationship with Coloratura, I actually took a lot from my own relationship with my brother. So yeah, they're both super close and they love each other very much. They do get on each other's nerves a lot, but you know, they can't live without each other, you know. Like all angsty teens, he mostly wears black. Just, yeah, it's great. His hair used to be much shorter, but over time, it just kind of got longer and curlier as the years went by. I don't know why, it just kind of happened. Oh, and as for the vampire bite looking things, they're not vampire bites. They're moles. The reason is because my brother actually has something just like that, and I thought that was really interesting, so I gave it to him. I didn't really put it in the two birds animation though, because you know the style is like really simple and stuff, so I didn't put that. Oh yeah, he also has a slew of outfits just like his sister. Yeah, most of them you can see in the two birds animation, but he has like a whole bunch more. And finally, we have Wendy. I'm gonna be honest, Wendy's kind of the most boring out of the main characters, and she's pretty much stayed exactly the same since her creation. It's mainly because out of all my characters, and I do mean all of them, she's the most normal. Like, her backstory is nothing special. She lives in an average house with normal parents, works at a bookstore, dreams of writing her own novels, and goes to like the nearest college. And I like to think that for that reason, she sees herself as like too average. She's also the nerd and the weeb of the group, and is quite proud of that. Because of this, she's sort of the voice of reason with all of the wackiness that goes on around her, but she does have her fair share of moments. She's also a really nice and caring person, but isn't afraid to be kind of a prick. It's just not as much as Coloratura. One thing quote-unquote special about her, aside from being friends with royalty, is that she's dating the internet celebrity, the Edgelord. The story on how she met him, I find, like, pretty funny. So, she follows all of his accounts, and she thinks he's cute, right? And, like the fangirl trash she is, she writes a fan fiction about them being together. But because this man is fanboy trash himself, he reads it, loves it, and contacts her. She found out that this boy is actually a really trashy weeb, loves him even more, and the rest is history. But I'll get into him later on. I like to think that even though she's not really a tomboy, she doesn't like to wear anything girly and like feels really weird when she does wear it. Unlike her friend, who actually is more tomboy than her, I find, actually. Like, Coloratura is much more of a tomboy than she does, and yet she's the one who wears all the dresses. It wasn't intentional, it was not intentionally made to quote-unquote subvert expectations, I just kind of did it, you know? Also, originally she wore glasses to complete the nerd look, but I took them out as time went on. I don't know why, I just did. But, yeah, I think that's all I can really show for today. These are only 4, and like I said, I have a lot of characters. Too much, honestly. The next part will have the quote-unquote side characters, and they have, like, my favorites out of all of them, so, yeah. I hope you guys really like this series of videos, I guess I can call them, and when I'm done with them, like, hey, you can all, like, look back at my older videos with my OCs and, like, finally understand at least a little bit about what's going on. So, yeah, that's it. Stay tuned.